Mercy is a luxury of the unprepared. The world does not reward softness, it consumes it. There are men who confuse kindness with strategy, men who give when giving kills the future. They call their weakness virtue, but history calls it defeat. Power doesn't pity, it evaluates. Ruthlessness isn't evil, it is focus. It is the discipline to value outcome over comfort. The ruthless man sees sentiment as a fog that blurs precision. He clears it away and looks straight at consequence. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must learn to be both the fox and the lion. The fox to recognize traps, the lion to frighten wolves. To be ruthless is not to roar, it is to act when others hesitate. When the soldier spares a traitor, he sacrifices 100 loyal men. When a leader forgives a rival too soon, he purchases betrayal at a discount. Mercy feels warm in the moment, but cold in the aftermath. A state, a company, a man, all fall when they place emotion above order. History's rulers who survived the longest were not those who felt deeply, but those who decided cleanly. They were surgeons, not saints. Cruelty, said Machiavelli, may be well used if it is employed all at once and for necessity. A sudden pain is preferable to a slow decay. This is the secret of the ruthless. They end chaos quickly so that order may live longer. Imagine a ship in a storm. One man disobeys the captain, cuts the anchor line, and puts all lives at risk. If the captain hesitates to punish, he teaches mutiny. If he acts decisively, he teaches survival. The sea forgives no mercy. It respects command. So does the world. People crave guidance, even when they hate the hand that provides it. The weak will curse your firmness today, and thank you tomorrow, if they survive to see tomorrow. Mercy is admirable, but mercy without calculation is self-destruction disguised as kindness. Be generous only when generosity strengthens the structure that protects you. Every empire that fell began with sentimental forgiveness of its enemies. The ruthless are accused of coldness. But what they truly possess is clarity. They see beyond the emotion of the hour and think in centuries. They know that feelings change, consequences don't. To act ruthlessly is not to kill emotion, but to master it, to command the feeling, not obey it. Compassion, when strategic, is power. Compassion, when uncontrolled, is suicide. Therefore, when you decide, decide completely. Hesitation is the mother of regret, and regret in the arena of power is the prelude to extinction. Remember this: mercy is beautiful in poetry, deadly in policy. It builds statues for the fallen, but tombs for the living. The ruthless do not seek cruelty, they seek continuity. They are guardians of the future, not prisoners of sentiment. Be ruthless in thought, so you may be measured in action, cold in mind, so you may be just in rule. Observe, manipulate, rule. Ruthlessness is not born from cruelty. It is born from necessity. The world is not gentle. It tests the soft and exalts the sharp. To survive in it, you must learn what the sentimental never will. Pity is often treason against reason. Those who hesitate to cut bleed longer. Those who wait for the perfect moment watch others take what they wanted. Delay is a silent assassin. It kills empires quietly. Ruthlessness is clarity under pressure. It is the art of separating what must live from what must die. Ideas, people, emotions, habits. The ruthless man asks one question: what preserves power? And when the answer comes, he does not flinch. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince who relies entirely on fortune will soon be ruined." Fortune favors the prepared mind, not the merciful one. Luck visits those who have already sharpened the blade. To be ruthless is not to remove conscience, it is to command it. Conscience should advise, not rule. The mind must be the throne, the heart a servant. When you let the heart command, you become a slave to every plea, every guilt, every illusion of goodness. When you let the mind command, you begin to rule yourself. And no man who fails to rule himself can rule others. The world bends not to the compassionate, but to the consistent. Consistency is a language of fear and respect combined. When people know what to expect from you, reward or punishment, they adapt. When they cannot predict you, they scheme. Therefore, the ruthless do not swing between mercy and rage. They hold steady like iron, unmoved, deliberate, and patient. They can afford patience because they are willing to strike when it matters. Patience without readiness is cowardice. Readiness without patience is chaos. Ruthlessness balances both. You may think this path lonely. It is, but so is leadership. So is mastery. So is clarity. Great men dine with solitude. It is the price of distance, and distance is what allows you to see the entire field while others stare at a single square. To understand power, you must detach from comfort. The more attached you are to being liked, the less power you will hold. People who crave approval are easily manipulated. The ruthless seek influence, not affection. Remember this: ruthlessness is not a constant act. It is a readiness to act. It means your sword stays sheathed but sharp. Your silence is not surrender, it is calculation. Machiavelli wrote, "Men should be either treated generously or destroyed, because they take revenge for slight injuries. For heavy ones they cannot. To strike halfway is to invite retaliation. To hesitate is to teach rebellion. To be ruthless is to finish the act that others are afraid to begin. Mercy, when premature, breeds monsters. Mercy, when earned, builds loyalty. The ruthless know when mercy serves power and when it poisons it. So learn to see clearly through the fog of emotion. Behind every request for mercy hides a negotiation. Behind every tear, a calculation. Behind every smile, an interest. You do not need to hate to be ruthless. You only need to understand that emotion is a weapon, and those who wield it against you count on your softness. Guard your empathy as a treasure, not a leash. Use it to study, not to surrender. And when the time comes to decide, decide cleanly. That is ruthlessness, the discipline to prefer reality over illusion, the present over comfort, survival over sympathy. Observe, manipulate, rule. Power is not something you are given. It is something you must project. People obey not because they are told to, but because they believe you cannot be broken. They sense stability the way animals sense danger. They are drawn to the calm that hides the storm. The psychology of power begins with perception, and perception begins with control. Control of your voice, control of your face, control of your timing. Every pause becomes a demonstration of dominance. Every silence, a question left unanswered that others rush to fill. Weakness is loud. Strength is quiet. When you are calm, the world starts to orbit around you. Machiavelli understood this. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Fear lasts longer because it roots itself in memory. Love is fragile. It requires constant fooding. Fear is self-sustaining. Once learned, it rarely needs to be reminded. But fear alone is not enough. It must be balanced by respect. Without respect, fear decays into hatred. And hatred here is the seed of rebellion. So the art of power is balance. To command through fear, but maintain respect through competence. Fear of your wrath, respect for your results. Power psychology is the study of human predictability. Most men are governed by comfort, not conviction. They follow whoever guarantees safety, even at the cost of their freedom. The ruthless mind uses this truth as architecture. He creates a structure of incentives and deterrents. Simple, predictable, absolute. He makes consequence visible and punishment swift. Men more quickly forget the death of their father than the loss of their inheritance. Machiavelli money, security, legacy. People defend what feeds them, not what flatters them. So a ruler, a CEO, a general, they all must understand this. The fastest way to maintain order is to make disobedience unprofitable. The fastest way to kill loyalty is to make weakness profitable. When your people learn that mercy is cheap, they will spend it recklessly. When they learn that fairness is expensive, they will treasure it. In power, everything is a transaction, even morality. You must decide what you can afford to forgive and what you must destroy. Power, at its core, is emotional management of others and of self. The ruthless master both. They know their triggers. They study their impulses. They treat anger as data, not command. A single outburst can collapse decades of authority. The powerful man smiles when others scream. He whispers when others demand. He moves last, and by then, the battlefield is already his. There is a silence that rules rooms. When you enter and speak slowly and let others fill the void, they will reveal everything. The ruthless man collects secrets not by force, but by patience. He does not need to spy. He listens. He does not need to threaten. He reminds. The memory of his past actions is enough. This is the core of power. Predictability in enforcement, unpredictability in emotion. Be consistent in consequence and mysterious in feeling. Your enemies must know your rules, but never your thoughts. A ruler with transparent emotions is a map for manipulation. A ruler with opacity is a labyrinth that swallows the weak. The psychology of power is simple but brutal. People obey strength. They admire intelligence. They submit to certainty. Be all three, and never apologize for it. Machiavelli asked a question that still echoes through centuries. Is it better to be feared or loved? He did not answer it with sentiment, but with logic, he said. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Why? Because love depends on others. Fear depends on you. Love must be maintained. It demands gifts, attention, presence. Fear requires only consistency. A single memory of consequence lasts longer than 1,000 promises of affection. Love is fragile because it belongs to emotion. Fear endures because it belongs to instinct. Love can be betrayed. Fear resists betrayal. It paralyzes it. When people love you, they expect fairness. When they fear you, they expect discipline. Fear binds with a pragmatic knot. Love ties itself with threads of illusion. But the wise ruler knows, pure fear is unstable. A tyrant dies by hatred. The goal is balance. Fear reinforced by respect. Fear commands obedience. Respect prevents rebellion. Together, they forge loyalty, born from awe. Men must either be caressed or annihilated. Machiavelli. Mercy without power invites contempt. Power without restraint invites revolt. The ruler who masters both is untouchable. To be feared wisely, one must appear just. Let your punishments be swift but lawful. Let your rules be harsh but equal. Let your presence command, but never plead. When you give mercy, make it ceremonial. When you punish, make it final. Mercy should feel like sunlight after storm, earned, not expected. Fear, properly managed, does not destroy loyalty, it defines it. It teaches people that safety lies in alignment with your order. Love asks people to trust your heart. Fear teaches them to trust your consistency. And consistency is the foundation of all power. A ruler loved too deeply becomes a servant of affection. He hesitates, he explains, he apologizes. The world eats him alive. A ruler feared but respected commands in silence. He moves once and the room adjusts. He speaks little and chaos retreats. Fear teaches obedience faster than explanation. But remember, fear must serve justice, not ego. If fear serves vanity, it turns to hate. If it serves strukra, it becomes reverence. People will endure much under a strong ruler if they believe his cruelty keeps them safe. But they will revolt at the first sign of pettiness. So wield fear like a blade, not to maim, but to defend. Fear is the fence around your kingdom. Love is the garden within it. Guard both, but never confuse them. When you choose between being feared or loved, choose fear, but build it with honor. Let people say, "He's harsh, but fair." That is immortality. Love fades with the winds of fortune. Fear lasts through generations. The merciful are forgotten, the feared are remembered. And the respected, they rule even after death. The crowns have changed, but the nature of men has not. Power no longer wears gold. It wears credentials, signatures, and followers. The modern prince does not sit on a throne. He stands behind a screen, a brand, a movement, or a company. Yet the rules remain. The human heart has not evolved beyond ambition, envy, or fear. The same forces that ruled Florence rule the boardroom. He who controls perception controls reality. He who defines the frame defines the truth. Machiavelli wrote his Prince for the age of daggers and armies. You write yours in the language of policies, algorithms, and image. But both are manuals of control. The modern prince must learn invisibility. He rules by systems, not decrees. He designs rules so that his will becomes the natural order. That is the perfection of rule. When obedience no longer feels like submission, power today moves silently, disguised as efficiency. The ruthless understand this. They design procedures so sharp that no one sees the blade. They let others speak of ethics while they build structures of influence. They let others debate morality while they define the laws that decide it. In a world of noise, silence is strategy. The modern prince speaks only when words amplify control. Each statement becomes a weapon. Each pause, a signal. In business, the ruthless leader rewards competence publicly and punishes betrayal privately but decisively. In politics, he cultivates loyalty by fear of exclusion. In relationships, he gives respect, but never dependence. Dependence is the hidden enemy of all rulers. The moment you need those you lead, you are no longer leading. Build networks that depend on you, but never depend on them. Let every alliance serve purpose, not comfort. Keep doors open, but hands on the lock. The modern prince builds a reputation before he needs it. Reputation is a currency of trust traded long before crisis. It cannot be purchased. It must be compounded. One decisive act of discipline outweighs 100 declarations of virtue. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, for all can see, but few can feel. Machiavelli. In the digital empire, appearance is substance. To seem competent is halfway to being obeyed. But to maintain that image, you must embody it privately. Hypocrisy leaks. Discipline radiates. The ruthless leader performs calm in chaos. When others panic, he analyzes. When others beg for consensus, he dictates clarity. He saves emotion for effect, not for guidance. The modern prince studies psychology as once he studied swordplay. He learns behavioral economics instead of battlefield geometry. But the objective remains identical. Control the environment before it controls you. And he knows that kindness without calculation is suicide. If he must grant favors, he grants them publicly and strategically. If he must punish, he does so once and thoroughly. Let men remember your generosity as hope and your wrath as legend. For the ends of safety and honor, we must do many things which are not good. Machiavellian principle. The ruthless are not villains. They are realists. They see the world not as it should be, but as it functions. They accept that justice without strength is a sermon, and strength without justice is tyranny. Balance both, and you become untouchable. The modern prince knows visibility is risk. He delegates credit, but never control. He allows others to shine, but always in his orbit, their success becomes proof of his design. To rule today, you must think like an architect of systems, not a commander of men. Structure is the new sword. Policy is the new fortress. Perception is the new crown. Be unseen, but felt. Be feared, but respected. Be ruthless, but always with purpose. A ruler's mind must be colder than his heart is capable of warmth. To think coldly is not to feel nothing. It is to feel everything and still choose correctly. The ruthless do not hate. They calculate. Hatred blinds. Calculation reveals. Coldness is clarity, the distance between emotion and decision. But coldness without humanity becomes tyranny. A warm execution means acting with precision, not cruelty. It means cutting once, cleanly, with purpose, not indulging in the pleasure of dominance. Machiavelli wrote that cruelty should be used well. If it is employed all at once, and then turned to the benefit of subjects. The meaning is simple. Decisive pain followed by order is mercy in disguise. Unending hesitation, unending confusion, that is real cruelty. So how does one develop a cold mind? Through discipline, through the daily refusal to be ruled by impulse. Every morning, the ruthless man rehearses detachment. He observes his own thoughts, as a general observes troops. With scrutiny, without indulgence, he rewards loyalty in himself. He punishes weakness in himself first. He knows that victory begins in private. No man who loses to temptation in silence can command respect in public coldness. Begins with breathing before reacting, pausing before speaking, thinking before choosing. A ruler must feel the heat of anger, but never speak from it. Must feel fear, but never act from it. Must feel compassion, but never grant it prematurely. This is not repression. It is mastery. Mastery of self, the first and greatest kingdom. The warm execution comes when this cold mind acts. The hand moves swiftly, but the intention is pure. The punishment serves order, not ego. The mercy serves stability, not reputation. A cold mind weighs what must be done. A warm execution does it without malice. The world mistakes the ruthless for emotionless, but it is the opposite. They feel too deeply to trust feelings. They have seen emotion ruin empires, families, companies, nations. They have learned that the truest compassion is to enforce reality, not deny it. To rule is to perform surgery on the human condition. Every cut hurts, but every cut also heals. Those who cannot bear to wound cannot save. Discipline is the scalpel. Emotion is the infection. Cut precisely, and the body survives. Cut carelessly, and both the patient and the surgeon perish. Let others call you cold. They call the surgeon cruel too. But when the bleeding stops and the wound closes, they understand. Coldness is the price of clarity. Warmth is the expression of wisdom. Together they forge authority. In leadership, this balance is sacred. Speak with calm. Decide with steel. Act with grace. When you punish, make it look inevitable. When you forgive, make it look planned. When you rise, make it look deserved. That is the art of the cold mind and the warm execution, to combine logic with timing and discipline with dignity. Be ice in thought and flame in delivery. This contrast is irresistible. It commands both fear and fascination. To the weak, it seems supernatural. To the wise, it is simply practice. Cold mind, warm hand, no tremor, no noise. Only result. Detachment is not absence of care. It is the refusal to be enslaved by what you care about. The ruler who becomes attached to approval will chase it. The one attached to success will fear losing it. The one attached to love will compromise principle for comfort. To rule, first rule attachment, Machiavelli warned that fortune tests those who depend on her. The detached man depends only on preparation. He accepts that all things can vanish, alliances, money, affection, and still he remains the same. Detachment is armor for the mind. It is what lets you walk through fire and still make rational choices. The undisciplined live like leaves in the wind, pulled by every gust of emotion. The disciplined move like mountains. They let storms pass and remain unmoved. Power belongs to those who can act without need. Need makes you predictable. Predictable men are pawns. The ruthless man practices detachment daily. He observes everything, but identifies with nothing. He can enjoy without clinging, praise without pride, success without intoxication. To outsiders, he seems distant. To insiders, he seems eternal. Because he cannot be broken by loss, he cannot be controlled by gifts. The detached ruler grants loyalty but never dependency. He rewards, but does not bind himself by gratitude. He remembers that every alliance is conditional, every promise temporary. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Machiavelli. The world changes faster than loyalty does. Adaptation is survival. Rigidity is vanity. Detachment lets you adapt without betraying your nature. When power shifts, the attached man clings to old forms and drowns. The detached man rides the current and arrives first on new shores. Detached from titles, yet never from purpose. Detached from applause, yet never from discipline. Detached from emotion, yet never from awareness. This discipline is not coldness. It is control to feel fully and still choose freely. That is freedom. The ruthless know that love, hate, fear, and ambition are all currencies. They spend them wisely, but never hold them. They trade them for advantage, but never store them as identity. You will be tested. You will be tempted to prove your heart. But those who rush to prove themselves lose themselves. The silent man terrifies because he cannot be read. The detached man rules because he cannot be moved. When others panic, he studies. When others beg, he observes. When others flatter, he listens. He knows that everything external, wealth, allies, reputation, is on loan. But his discipline is permanent. This is why the ruthless outlast the merciful. The merciful react, the ruthless reflect. One burns fast, the other endures. And endurance is the purest form of strength. Detachment is not the death of feeling, it is its governance. A mind detached from chaos can turn cruelty into justice, disaster into strategy, and loss into rebirth. The disciplined man loses less because he expects less. And because he expects less, he appreciates more. Detachment is the final weapon of power. When nothing owns you, Everything obeys you. In every age, the choice remains the same. Be ruthless or be ruled. History does not remember the merciful. It remembers those who decided, those who cut through noise and built order where chaos thrived. You may choose softness, but softness is not safety. It is only the slow surrender to those who are harder than you. Every system, kingdom, company, family needs an axis, a spine that will not bend. If you will not become that spine, someone else will, and when they do, you will serve them. Machiavelli understood this truth better than any theologian or poet, that the world is not fair, but it can be ruled, that men are not angels, but they can be directed, that virtue without strategy dies screaming. The ruthless are not born cruel, they are born awake. They see the fragility of promises, the volatility of loyalty, the hunger beneath every smile, and instead of complaining, they plan. They do not pray for a better world, they engineer one. The difference between rulers and the ruled is a single habit, the ability to act without hesitation. Hesitation kills opportunity faster than any enemy. The weak wait for certainty, the strong create it. The ruthless act when others still seek permission. They strike while emotion blinds their rivals. They lead while others explain why it cannot be done. Do not confuse ruthlessness with hatred. Hatred consumes. Ruthlessness builds. Hatred burns bridges. Ruthlessness constructs fortresses. To be ruthless is to build what feelings cannot sustain. It is to choose what must survive, not what must feel good. The world will call you cold. Let them. The world calls anything disciplined cruel. They do not understand that your restraint is what protects them. The surgeon is called cruel by those who have never bled. The general is called merciless by those who have never led. The ruler is called heartless by those who mistake impulse for virtue. Remember this: mercy is temporary comfort. Ruthlessness is permanent order. You owe the world not kindness, but structure. Not emotion, but results, not apology, but direction. Because chaos does not negotiate, it consumes, and those who cannot command it will be devoured by it. So be ruthless in vision, in discipline, in consistency. Forgive strategically. Reward deliberately. Strike completely. Let every act carry precision. Let every decision echo finality. Let your presence be felt before your voice is heard. Be the man who others fear disappointing more than they fear confronting. Be the one who can sit in silence while others beg for noise. Be the one who decides cleanly and never looks back. For those who rule themselves rule the world, and those who refuse to learn ruthlessness will spend their lives serving those who did. Be ruthless or be ruled.